So, are there any treatments that people should avoid doing? You've sort of told us that there's nothing that's a magic bullet, but everyone's looking for it. And a lot of patients look around and find things like hyperbaric oxygen treatment or stem cell therapy, infrared LED. There's talk of a variety of treatments out there. Is that something people should consider or avoid, and why?
I'll speak to the first two items that you mentioned. In regards to hyperbaric oxygen, please don't do that. That's a good way of making things worse. There's no lack of oxygen in the metabolism of a patient who has labors. On the contrary, there's these reactive oxygen species that we've been talking about. The point of dibinone is to take away the reactive oxygen species. They come from oxygen. Taking more oxygen is aggravating the situation. There are anecdotal stories of individuals who've lost vision in one eye, and we know they're going to lose it anyway in the other eye, but that they lost it the day after hyperbaric treatment. In regards to stem cell therapies, for the moment, I hope that this will change in the future, but for the moment, they're a scam. In this particular issue for the optic nerve. They're available in rinky-dink little hospitals in Western China and Northern India, and one was available in East Germany, which finally got closed down. The idea that they can inject into your spinal cord your own stem cells wouldn't answer the problem anyway, because you need them in the eye, not in the spinal cord or the brain where the spinal cord circulates. It's just $50,000 out of your pocket because they're trying to get your $50,000. Better that $50,000 should go to this organization where it will lead to real advances. I think that there are some therapies on the horizon. I don't know if you want to get into them now or later, but later than it is. I remain hopeful.
Yeah, and no laser surgery, no these weird things that sometimes happens. I had cases being operated for revitalizing the optic nerve through lasers. There is not such a thing.
I've not heard of that one.
Oh, speaking of weird therapies, one other that I forgot to mention, and that is red light, LED lights at 680 wavelength. The idea is that at that wavelength, the system called oxidative phosphorylation of the mitochondria is stimulated and works overtime, and it does. And there's some diseases for which that might actually make sense. For example, healing scarring after injury, where you want to rev up the mitochondria. But that's the opposite of what we want to do. Revving things up means more reactive oxygen species are being spilled. So Valeria and I, on our yearly trips down to Brazil, where we have several hundred carriers there that we've been observing, thought to use that, had the person who had developed the technique come down and join us. But as we discussed it, we got scared and realized they could make things worse rather than better. So we did it in a very limited trial in people who were the most profoundly blind and essentially had nothing or very little to lose. And we did it in one eye only, and we measured. And what we measured was people saying, I think it made me better. And that points out, again, to what we all know, the power of the placebo effect, because when we made the measurements, they got worse. So we didn't do the trial, and so I'm also saying to you that in a small, limited number of patients, I think we had 6 of them, it was dangerous, and I don't think it's a good idea.